We the People, brought to you by the League of Women Voters of Minneapolis. My name is Joan Higginbotham, and I'll be your host for this evening's program. Well, it's August, and that means the start of school is just around the corner. Parents and kids both are excited about what's coming for their children. So we thought this was the perfect night to talk about what is happening in the Minneapolis Public Schools. Our guests this evening are Dr. Bernadeia Johnson, who's the Superintendent of Schools in Minneapolis. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Catherine Shreves. Catherine is a former president of the League of Women Voters, but also a former president of the Minneapolis Public School Board. Welcome, Catherine.
Thank you for having me.
And Lynn Nordgren, who is president of the Minneapolis Federation of Teachers. And I don't think we could have a better group of folks to talk about what's happening here in the city. And I guess I'll start with a hard question first, and then we can work into some easier ones. People are really concerned about the achievement gap. And I, looked at the statistics, and I knew they were bad. White students graduate at a 70% average in 4 years, blacks and Latinos at a 38% average, and Native Americans at a 25% average. We'll give you the first shot at it. What are we doing? Or what's happening and what are we doing about it?
Well, we are trying to do a number of things, but I would say what we're experiencing is, an academic achievement gap, but also an opportunity gap. And one of the things that we're trying to do is make sure we have equitable outcomes for students. And our average graduation rate has improved actually 4% over the past year. We now, at a 50% graduation rate. That's not something to be proud of, but we are moving in the right direction. So it's evidence that we are doing some things right for our students. So we're doing a number of things. We know that we have to start early with our students, so early childhood is an important part of the work that we're doing in the Minneapolis Public Schools, and we're very happy with this past legislative session with the governor and the legislature and the Commission of Education putting more money into kindergarten so we can start early with students, because we know the earlier we start, the better their chances are. But we also know we have to focus on students at every level in the organization. So we are doing things like putting in math specialists in the elementary school that we've done the last couple of years. And our original results show that we're making some progress, and we feel really good about that. We're just waiting on the final results from the state to show more about that. But we also have been working collaboratively with the teachers union on a teacher evaluation to look at teacher quality to be able to provide more and better support for our teachers in the classroom.
I know that's one thing you've really been in favor of, haven't you? I mean, you've sort of been one of the PAR people.
Yes, actually our union started the peer assistance and review probably about 20 years ago, because we do believe that quality teaching is critical. We need, teachers will all say that. We all want to be good at what we do. We need good teachers in every classroom. And we feel we really do have a strong teaching force in Minneapolis, because we've already been working on this for a long time. We have a great induction process for our teachers. We have a mentoring program. We've had our standards of effective instruction around for a long time. And now it's really morphing and moving into this teacher evaluation piece. But I would agree with Bernadeia that it's more than that. We have to go bigger, because we have been working on this part. It is about an opportunity gap. It's about making sure all students have access to the things that they need in life that will help them grow up to be their full potential. And so some of our kids don't have that. I happen to live in a neighborhood where a lot of children don't have access to many things. And we know when you just get out and about in life, it helps build vocabulary, it helps build comprehension, it helps build your social skills, and just feeling like you're a part of the rest of the world. And so we want to make sure that kids have those experiences, but they also have the glasses they need, and they have a bed to sleep in, and they have the right food and nutrition. And so we're looking at, yep, we got to do our job in the district,
Absolutely.
but we also need partners throughout our community. We need everybody to step up and help us close this gap and raise the bar for education.
Well, Catherine, you've been looking at education for a long time. I mean, not that long, but and have we made progress? I mean, are we sort of getting to the root of the problem?
Well,
as an observer?
I think that one of the things that Superintendent Carol Johnson 10 years ago said that I think is true is we didn't used to try to educate everyone. We used to say it was okay if people only went through 8th grade or 12th grade and they could go into a factory. That is not true anymore. We are in an information society and we are expected to educate everyone, and so the standards are high. At the same time, child poverty is increasing, and that has a huge impact on early childhood development. And when you have children coming to school who haven't been prepared, it really makes it much harder for everyone. So I think that the legislature giving more money for early childhood programs as well as all-day kindergarten is huge. And then I'd also like both Lynn and Bernadeia to talk about the Northside Achievement Zone,
what I was
because
going
I
to
think
ask,
that
yes.
that is an effort to provide more services to children who really need more than just 6 hours a day in school.
Minneapolis Public Schools was a partner in the application for the Northside Achievement Zones grant, and we feel really good about that because I know one of the areas that Lynn and I absolutely agree upon is the fact that we have to, we're being asked to do more in the school district with fewer resources, and we need to make sure we're partnering with other organizations. And Northside Achievement Zone is one of those, Sandra Samuels, where we are trying to get support for families, and I mean the whole family, not just the child, but the parents as well. So opportunities for families to get employment, to have stable housing, and she's been advocating for that. We also have connectors in schools and navigators who are working with students and the teachers to make sure the students are on track. Now it's just started getting implemented this past year, so we have yet to see the results of that, but it's modeled after the Harlem Children's Zone, so we know that that worked, so we are optimistic about what's going to happen.
How does it filter down to the classroom?
Well, right now, we're not feeling it in our classroom within our district because principals have been going through some training, and so it's not quite there yet. But we also, I think what is great about NAAS is that we're starting early and we're making sure parents are deeply involved. I love the little t-shirts that talk about, I'm going to be graduating from high school, and they're about this big. And, you know, and so it's creating that attitude that I can, I will, that's the expectation, we're all going to get there. And I think that's not necessarily something that's been pervasive throughout our society. I mean, there are only 34% of our society that actually goes on to college. And a lot of the folks who actually do graduate end up dropping out because they just feel maybe it's not for them. But Catherine's right, we have to be prepared, whether it's for career or college, we have to do more than have a college degree. So I love that early start about we're all going to make it, we're all going to get there.
Well, now you're also involved with the Minneapolis Foundation, and I know they are sort of involved in this whole project too.
Correct. The Minneapolis Foundation has been a partner with the Minneapolis Public Schools for many years. In fact, when I was on the school board 10 or 12 years ago, they were very involved even then. And their effort right now is focusing on trying to improve the outcomes for Minneapolis Public School students, focusing on improved, giving students, I wish I could remember the acronym, I think it's the RESET campaign.
Reset.
And it is trying to make sure that every student has got a great teacher, because one of the most important things that you can do for a student is to give them a great teacher. And as every parent knows, that can make or break a student's school year if they have a teacher that is one of the best.
Well, now, do you have an idea of how long the average teacher has been in the Minneapolis public school system? I mean, I would guess that we probably have a fairly senior type. I mean, we've got lots of people with good experience, not true?
We actually don't have as many senior anymore. We've had lots of teachers retire over the last few years, so there are actually fewer senior teachers than there are younger and newer teachers coming up through the 5th, 10th, 15th year, 20th year. But our more senior teachers are actually our fewest number of teachers. So, but we also know that experience matters. Teaching is not something that you just learn overnight. It takes a long time to really develop the skills. And with good mentoring and coaching and peer coaching and partnering and collaborating with your peers, collaborating with parents, collaborating with principals, you really learn to refine those skills. That's pretty much true, I think, of all professions. You just get better at it the more you do it and the more you learn and the more feedback you get. So we want to make sure we have those senior teachers there because they really do help set a foundation of quality for our younger teachers.
Now, I know one of the new things that we talked about is the Office of New Schools. And it sounds like that's a place where you're trying to give people more, the possibility to do sort of more new things, creative things?
Yeah, the Office of New Schools actually started when we created our strategic plan 5 years ago. And it started out with the fact that we would close schools that were underperforming, replace them with high-performing schools. And there was a lot of concern about doing that. And so I changed the strategy to starting to look at successful charter schools that are local and starting to replicate. So Minneapolis Public Schools is replicating a charter school with Harvest Prep that's called Mastery. So we're doing that currently. But the new shift in the work that we're doing is, what I'm proposing is that we create partnership schools. And those partnership schools give those schools greater autonomy. It means we respect the professionalism of the teachers and the administrators at the site. We give them more autonomy to do what they need to do for this diverse school community that they serve. And what it signals is there's not a one-size strategy for every school, and that schools are able to construct the strategies that innovate at the site level to meet the needs of their students. And for that, they also have to have a level of accountability to go along with that.
Now, I know that there's been some pushback on some parts of this from the Teachers Federation. Can you talk a little bit?
I'm not sure what the pushback is, because we really haven't done that pushback.
Oh, good. Well, then
years ago,
I've misinterpreted
well,
the data.
Yeah, and that's what happens when,
Yes.
people start to talk. There's lots of times misinformation about things. Probably 10, maybe even 15 years ago, the teachers stepped forward and said, we'd like to try self-governed schools. We'd like to have a partnership with the district, but we want to have some innovation. We want to maybe clear out some of the things that we see aren't working for some of our kids, and try to have a stronger voice with parents, with teachers, with district, with the leadership, to see what we can come up with. And that we got legislation passed, we had some other things happen, but it was hard to get it off the ground. And so we ended up with one school, the Pierre Bottineau French Immersion, and then this partnership model became something where we thought maybe this is a place where we can bring in some of that self-governed school idea.
Exactly.
So we're not objecting because we don't really know what it
Yes,
is yet.
well, I think
We
we're still
haven't
trying to
created it
construct it
together.
together.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Well, I remember back in the day when you did the study, Catherine, that was one of the things that even teachers then, 10 or 12 years ago, were saying, the principal said we'd like to make some decisions about our own schools.
Absolutely, and I think that the Office of New Schools is a great example of moving in that direction.
Well, now, so what's going to happen then is, I love the phrase, I wrote that down here so I wouldn't, accountability and autonomy. So the two go together.
They go together hand in hand, correct.
So in other words, if you're going to make your own decisions, you have to be accountable?
Right, and now we're holding people accountable. We're saying be accountable for what I'm telling you you should be doing. And there's no one-size-fits-all strategy that I can come up with. We have very diverse schools. We have very diverse needs. We have linguistically diverse schools, culturally, ethnicity, and our staff is different at each school, and so their needs are different. So we need to give schools that ability to be nimble and do what they need to do. And I believe, quite frankly, that if we do that, that everybody will want to do the right thing. And so this kind of top-down approach is not working, so we need to do something different, explore how can we give more professionalism to teachers and allow them to do that. But they will have to be accountable for results too. Yeah.
Now, it's from the bottom up that we're trying to work. How do you get parents involved in this? What will the role of the parents be I would think they'd have to have a big role.
yes, I would agree, and that's what I think we were wanting to see happen through our self-governed schools, and I believe also through a partnership school, that we can't do this work without parents. We talk about the teacher in the classroom, but parents are also just as important in the role of educating a child. And so we want parents to feel that schools are a welcoming place, that their ideas are welcome, that they can come in, be in the classroom, or come to meetings and help create ideas that may help the school be more successful. So absolutely, and not just parents, we think for the whole community. Absolutely. That a school should be the hub of the community, and that everybody has a chance and an opportunity to be there for some reason. Maybe they're coming for a workshop, or they want to use the library, or they want to come see their child in the classroom, that we really kick the doors open and we make sure that it's a welcoming place for everybody.
Now, it used to be, there was a time when they were looking at like a multidisciplinary school system where you would have like a social worker, you'd have like a satellite office of the welfare department or something like that. So you could get all kinds of services at the, in the school area. Does that still happen?
Like wraparound services?
We talk about wraparound services and support. We provide mental health services in the school currently, and we do everything we can. We need to do a better job of engaging our partners, our social services and community partners in providing even more support for families, because we're asking teachers and schools to do everything. Each year, there are more and more mandates without the resources that come along with it. And there are even more things that are happening. And I tell people, when you cut health and human services, you cut schools, because you're impacting our families. So we need to really get out and get partners to help us provide more of those services at the centralized site where parents are familiar and they feel comfortable with the teachers and the staff at the school.
Now, some of these new schools, like the Harlem example, it is really, it's more than just school. I mean, it's more than just 8 to 4 or 9 to 3 or whatever your school day is. Is that what you're working for? And what impact will that have on teachers? It sounded to me like the teaching day might be longer under some of these programs.
They may be. I mean, I think it's a decision that the staff will make. Time will be, but it's how we use the time and in terms of meeting the needs of the students. And I believe that each school will make that decision about how they will use the time to meet the needs of the students, and they will have different ways of doing that. It's
There's
not
also-
more the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
There's
don't
also-
want that.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, no.
There's also a program that we think is a great model, the Children's Aid Society out in New York, where there's a regular school day and then children go to after-school programs, and they're enriching programs. So I may go learn, I may do dancing or recording studio or some drama. I may learn how to play some board games. I may go to bicycle repair. But also during that time, during the day, if the teacher sees that a little extra tutoring is needed, there are also tutors available after school. But that enrichment time allows the child to also build on some of their strengths and their interests, things that are fun for them, because that engages the brain. And they come to school in the morning knowing after school I'm going to go to dance, and it just kind of picks up the excitement for them. But those after-school programs are not necessarily taught by the teachers. Sometimes they're taught by the parents or community. So that's another way to bring the community in. I think there's a caution here. Teachers work about 60 hours a week. They're already putting in really long hours.
We all thought that they just were from 9 to 3.
That's right. I think some people do think that, and we get all the summers off. You know,
Yes.
It doesn't really work out that way. And I'm in my 37th year, and I've never had a summer off yet. So maybe when I retire. And so, you know, I think it's really important to also honor the fact that our teachers have families and have lives. And if we're going to do a 9-hour day and a 10-hour day, when do they get home to their children? When do they see their family? When do they get to do the same things we want for all families, for our students? So it isn't that they don't want to do this, it's just how do we make sense of all this and still give kids the opportunities that they need, our students the opportunities that they need.
And I would agree with Lynn. We don't want to burn our staff
Yeah.
out. We want them to be vibrant and ready to come in and energized to serve our students. We're doing more of that in summer school now,
Yes.
where we have this kind of blended approach where there's this academic time, and then kids repair bicycles or go bike riding or go canoeing down the Mississippi with wilderness inquiry. So we're trying to do more of those things that interest students and engage them outside of academics, but could absolutely support academics.
Now, I'm thinking about this, that, again, your longer view, Catherine, is that this seems to me like a real change, the fact that we're sort of enriching the lives. It isn't really, has this always been there and we just haven't known about it, or is this something new?
Well, I think that there's just more intention around it because our demographics are getting more complicated. They're not getting less complicated. And so, I mean, years ago when we had a meeting with some after-school programs and school leaders, we were talking about what they did with the students, and there was a feeling that maybe they should do more than just drawing and cheerleading. They should, you know, they should do maybe some tutoring, because we were saying a lot of more affluent students were going to reading tutors and math tutors and art lessons, and so maybe we needed to up the standards a little bit for some of the programs that were being run by some of the partners of the schools. And that is happening now, and I think it's happening because we are seeing the need.
And are parents more involved? I mean, I know that we still need to do more on that, but it seems like, well, some parents are maybe too involved, but are parents getting more involved in their kids' education? Do they see it as more of a priority?
Well, I'm one of those people who believe that parents know and understand that education is a priority. They're not all equally situated in terms of how they respond to that. And as a child myself of a single parent mother, I know that she could not come there, and she was a teacher. She could not attend everything that happened at my school, but she asked the right questions when I came home, you know, and she made sure I had time for my homework. So I think there are things that parents can do at home, and I believe that there are more parents who are voicing their interests and being more active, and we still don't have enough of it.
I think it's also important to remember that children have to have a childhood. And if we're just spending all that time with reading and math and doing math sheets and, you know, read, do, we lose a great potential for really having our children grow into who they are meant to be in life. And that play, the deep play, is all about growing a brain too. That children learn a lot from play, and I think we've pushed too much of that out. I don't mean just the, you know, running around every day in the classroom, but I mean just where you're really thinking and problem solving and outside experiencing things and interacting socially with your friends and figuring out how to do that. And we really feel a need as teachers to get back to some of that, to make sure our children have that included in their lives.
See, so this is where I absolutely agree with you, Lynn, but I can't still keep not seeing that. I mean, I keep seeing that achievement gap and see too many kids who can't fill out applications for jobs, not getting hired, and the risky behaviors they slip into when they don't have a potential for a future because they can't get gainful employment, go off to college. And we have, as educators, we are really smart people. We have to figure out how to balance the opportunity for students to get, you know, to grow into their own self and to get the creativity back into education. So we want people who can go out and help solve the next disease, you know how do they, you know, get a cure for cancer, diabetes, and or, you know, whatever the next thing that I don't even know we need to invent. How do we make sure that we're nurturing creativity in our students, and students who may go off and may be the next president? We don't know that. And I don't want to be the person who's squelching that growth in people. But I also know if you're the president, you got to be able to read the laws that are coming up, you know, so.
Well, you
But
know,
you can learn through play.
but you both
You
bring
can have
up
a skit, you can do, you know,
I'm sure
lots of
President
things.
Obama's playing it.
But you
That's now.
both bring
Yeah.
up kind of an interesting
Yes,
dilemma that we've
it's a
got
dilemma.
right
It
now.
is,
And
yeah.
I think the dilemma is the standards movement has got parents who are already educated very concerned about making sure their kids meet every standard. And then you've got children whose parents aren't educated and they might be working 2 jobs, they might be single parents, and they aren't able to spend that kind of time. And so the gap actually seems like it's increasing because of that. And so I do feel like my own experience as a parent, an educated parent but not an educator, I felt like I needed guidance on how to help my student. And I knew how to have fun with my kids.
Yeah.
I really didn't know how to help them, and I spent a lot of time trying to learn that, and I think I did learn that, how to help them in school. And it wasn't just about being on the PTA at all, and it wasn't about being on the school board or being involved in education. It was really about what you were talking about, your mother who was a teacher, having a place for you to study, knowing kind of how to help you with things that you were struggling with. And so that's the kind of guidance I think parents really benefit from getting from teachers.
Yeah, that
And so
was a
that's why
question
we
I
need
wanted
this-
to ask
yeah.
about how do we teach parents to be good parents? Because I think you mentioned early on, Bernadeia, that it was the important role of parents and how the Northside Achievement Zone is working on that. But it's a slow process perhaps. And what are we doing to?
Well, we've had parent academies that we've tried, and we have another program called Connecting Parents to Educational Opportunities that a lot of our second language parents are participating in. And it's the first series of courses. It gets parents to understand ways they can get involved in the schools. And I have to tell you, parents are coming back and saying, we need a second series. What happens after we finish this? What's the next level? And so we're trying to design that now.
Well, we're coming to the end of the time almost here, and we haven't talked about what everybody seems to be talking about, and that's Teach for America. And I think all of us have had friends or family members who have been part of it, and so we think, well, that's really great. And then we've heard from some of the folks and I've also met people who've gone through the 4-year program and have said, well, how can she possibly teach when she's only had 5 weeks in the summer, and I was learning for 4 years? So what's the story here on Teach for America, and are these people a help or a hindrance or some of both?
I think it's important to acknowledge some of the things that Teach for America has done. They go places where there are often no teachers at all. And so it's important that it's kind of like, you know, they go out to places to help, and it's needed. We feel, however, for a teaching profession that we're trying to lift the standards of what it is to become a teacher. We want more education, we want residency programs, because it is such an important role that we play, and we can't shortchange it. And we are hearing from TFA alumni say, I wasn't ready, I wasn't prepared, and we just can't take that chance. Even teachers with a 4-year degree will say, I needed more help, but at least they had the 4 years and the student teaching and some mentoring. So I think we can't experiment with this. I think we have to make sure, if you go to Finland, it's a 6-year degree, and you have residencies, and you have 3 years of mentoring, and they have the best results in the world, and you'll see that across other countries as well. We want to lift the bar, not water it down.
So as a person who actually went through an alternative licensure program, I will tell you that I always thought that something more could take place. And I've been a supporter of TFA, and I will tell you this past year, we got more diverse candidates, and that's important to me, and we got more individuals who, by diverse I mean people of color and people who speak different languages, because that's an area of need. Our classrooms are becoming more diverse, and I would love to have more bilingual teachers in the classroom. And our traditional educational programs, I will tell you, are trying to transform how they work, and we are now working more closely with universities to give them feedback on how well their teachers are doing within our schools, and also trying to push them to do better. But no one would deny the fact that residencies and more mentoring is something that anyone would need. And I believe in it because I also believe that the TFAers come with this mindset that they're relentless about getting results. So they have this mindset and belief system, and they believe in the capacity of our students.
They're going to make it work.
They go try to make it work.
And
Well,
so
this
do
is
all of our teachers. Our
And
teachers
this
have
is the
that.
perfect place to end it, I think, and we are at the end of our time. Thanks so much for joining with us tonight, and I think this should give you some faith in the Minneapolis Public Schools. We've got a lot of people working really hard to make them better every year. Thanks to our guests for being with us tonight, Dr. Bernadeia Johnson, Superintendent of Schools, Catherine Shreves, former school board president, and Lynn Nordgren, president of the Teachers Federation of Minneapolis. Joan Higginbotham for the League of Women Voters saying thanks for tuning in to We the People. We hope you join us again.